Subscribe to Teckoh on YouTube or you will forever be a bot at Fortnite.
What is up, boys, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a guide on the best ways to improve your mechanics super fast in Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 6, including your aim, edits, and builds. With the increasing skill ceiling in Fortnite, it's more important than ever that you work on your mechanics so you can avoid getting stomped by every G Fuel snorting 12-year-old you run into. That's why I'll be covering all of the most useful and updated methods to become insane mechanically and speed up your improvement. And another thing before we start, boys, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Opera GX. Opera GX is the ultimate browser built to fit all of your gaming needs. I'm not even exaggerating when I say this is one of the most revolutionary tools I've ever seen for gaming. To show you guys a bit of what I'm talking about, there are so many things you can do. For example, you can use the Twitch plugin at any time to see which of your favorite streamers are live, use their built-in ad blockers, tracker blockers, and VPN to protect yourself when you're browsing, even use their GX player to change your music on Spotify, YouTube Music, or Apple Music, all without even leaving the browser. As well as that, you can use the GX corner to see all the new games that are coming out and get a bunch of them absolutely free, along with getting some great deals on other ones. With that said, if you want to check out Opera GX, which I highly recommend doing, be sure to head to the link in the description and give it a shot. There's a ton of other features as well that I didn't get a chance to cover, so I seriously recommend giving it a look. With that said, thank you once again, Opera, for sponsoring this video, and let's get right into it. Anyway, boys, this video is going to be split into 3 sections. One is going to be for building and editing, after that is going to be aiming, and then the third and final section is going to be just a few extra general tips that didn't really fit into either category, but are still obviously important. With that said, we're going to be starting off with how to improve your building and editing. So when it comes to building and editing, it's really just going to come down to repetition. You're going to want to start off with some of the basics like free building, practicing new techniques, etc. And then you're going to want to figure out how to utilize those things you learn in actual matches against real players. The biggest tip I can give you all for building and editing is to take it one technique at a time. Instead of trying to crank out a bunch of fancy techniques at once, try to find a technique and break it down into a sort of learning process. The way I like to think of it, and the way I recommend you think of it, is in 4 steps: discovery, understanding, practice, and utilization. Of course, discovery just means finding a technique, and you can do that by looking around on YouTube or online to find which techniques are being used. Understanding consists of actually like breaking the technique down into steps and getting yourself to understand what it actually does and how to actually perform it. From there, you're going to reach the practice stage. Essentially, in this stage, you're trying to mechanically learn the technique using the information you gathered by analyzing it. You're going to want to break it down into slow, digestible steps and use them to string together the full technique eventually. And finally, once you've learned the technique and you've actually practiced it and know how to do it mechanically, you're going to want to start practicing it in 1v1s and finally in the real game to get a full understanding and be able to use it in real fights. Okay, so that might be a lot to take in at once. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the best way to improve your building and editing in Fortnite is to one by one choose a technique, take the time to learn and understand the technique, practice it for yourself, and then move it into a real game environment. Now, apart from those strategies, obviously there are other ways to improve your building and editing, and those are going to mainly consist of practicing a bunch of 1v1s and really just playing the game a lot. As well as that, grinding out a lot of free builds definitely helps. That way you can practice smoothly transitioning between your techniques and also continue improving upon the ones you know. Second up in this video though is aiming, and aiming is going to be a lot simpler. Similar to building and editing, getting insane aim is really just going to come down to pure repetition. It's pretty much that way for every single mechanical thing you're going to do. Drilling out aim maps and aim duels on a consistent basis is really going to be the key to improving your aim. The only issue I see a lot of players having is doing their aim training too inconsistently. Just like any other skill, aim takes consistent practice, and doing it just once in a while isn't really going to cut it if you want to get the best aim you can get. What I'd recommend doing is picking 1 or 2 methods of aim practice and just do them each time you get on, maybe as part of your warm-up so you can get your aim training done early and also get nice and primed for when you hop into the game. In terms of what to actually do, there are 3 main methods I've shown in the past and they still remain the best in my opinion: Kovacs, in-game aim apps, and aim duels. As you may know, Kovacs is a third-party aim trainer which basically has thousands of different scenarios to play. I won't get too detailed with this since I've shown it in the past before, but the main scenarios I recommend for most players include close long strafe invincible, thin aiming long, bounce 180, and 6-tile jumbo frenzy. If you want to check out more Kovacs scenarios though, I do have some other videos on the topic, so feel free to check those out as well. When it comes to in-game in-game aim maps, these essentially have the same effects as Kovacs, except all players can use them, as unfortunately Kovacs is only available to PC players who use keyboard and mouse, so it's a bit of a selective group. For in-game aim trainers, I recommend using the one by my boy Donwazi. The code for that is going to be 8022-6842-4965. This map has a ton of super useful scenarios. I'd recommend picking around 3 or 4 scenarios each time you hop on and just running through them for a little while before you hop into the game. This has a similar effect to Kovacs, and it's just a bit easier to access, and obviously it's in-game as opposed to a third-party app. Finally, the last aim training method is going to be aim duels, which, if you don't know already, basically consist of you and an opponent in a box shooting at one another with the same weapon to practice your close-range box fighting aim. For aim duels, I recommend using Raider 464's map. The code for that is 6120-6647-4515. Basically, this map has customizable health and a ton of awesome aim duel scenarios which you can do with another player, and it also has this great glider aim area where you can practice shooting one another mid-air. Overall, aim duels are absolutely great and allow you to get some really valuable aim practice against a real player, so this is definitely another practice method that I recommend you use for aim. Finally guys, for this last little section in this video, I just want to give a few miscellaneous tips relating to improving your mechanics, so let's get into that. First of these tips is going to be to play around with your settings a lot and see what you prefer. Whether your shots feel off and you want to make some sensitivity adjustments, or maybe you want to try out a new editing setting like confirm edit on release, don't be afraid to experiment a bit with it and see what works. Obviously you don't want to be changing your settings every single day and just using a bunch of random stuff. You want to stay mostly consistent, but you also don't want to be afraid of trying some new stuff once in a while to see if it can make you better. If you're interested, I do have some other videos about keybinds, settings, and other things like that, which you can check out if you want some more specific details on the topic. Another major tip I have is to simply be consistent with any form of practice you do. You're not going to see a lot of improvement if you're only actually practicing once in a while. My biggest piece of advice is whichever practice method you decide to do, just make sure you're doing it on a consistent basis and stay focused on improvement. Consistency is absolutely key, and if you're consistently practicing your mechanics and doing it properly, there shouldn't be much holding you back from improving. And the last tip I want to leave you guys off with is to practice while doing things you enjoy. If you're trying to get insane mechanics, it's going to be quite a bit of time commitment, and you don't want to dedicate so much time to something you hate doing. Don't forget to have a bit of fun with it and avoid doing drills, strategies, or anything else that you simply don't like doing. Improving at the game is meant to be enjoyable, and you shouldn't have to start every session wishing you weren't doing it. So in conclusion, just make sure you're happy with whatever practice you're doing and the results should show for themselves. With that said though, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Hopefully these strategies help you out to improve your mechanics fast in Fortnite and improve overall as a player. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like on it and consider subscribing as well if you want to see more videos just like this in the future. And once again guys, I want to give another shout out to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Once again, the link is going to be down in the description if you want to check it out. Anyway boys, thank you all for watching though, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.